I think that there's no doubt that the Gemini Earn product that Tyler and Cameron Winklevoss created, which essentially
These are the guys who got rich off Facebook, just to remind anyone who's not seen the social network.
They got $60 million or so from Facebook, cleverly invested in it, letting some of it ride on Facebook, letting some of it go into Bitcoin. They became early Bitcoin bulls, made a whole bunch of money, are often described as the first Bitcoin billionaires. But they had a company to run. They had to make money. You can't just hold Bitcoin and hope that its price goes up and count that as revenue. So they created a bunch of products. And one of those products was an Earn product that made them look an awful lot like a bank. And it was relying on some pretty complicated, seemingly convoluted processes that involved a couple of companies that are owned by Digital Currency Group, Barry Silbert's company.
Right, and this is the guy who started Second Market, which allowed those Facebook employees to trade their shares prior to it being public, and he basically wanted to be the Warren Buffett of crypto.
Barry made his name improving traditional finance. He made it easier for companies that hadn't gone public to trade their stocks, for those employees to trade their stocks. And he sold Second Market, made a pretty penny, developed a great reputation, and he reinvested a lot of that money to become sort of, as you put it, the Warren Buffett of Bitcoin.
Or blockchain, maybe more. I guess Bitcoin.
Yeah, okay. He started off just Bitcoin. His subsidiary, Grayscale, has created some trust products for many cryptocurrencies, somewhat controversially, though the vast majority of their market value is focused on the Bitcoin trust.
So what's the accusation? What is... They're not happy with each other.
They're not happy. It's a really ugly sort of he said, she said, or he said conversation. So it's kind of hard to tell for sure what actually happened. But Gemini had loaned some money to the Digital Currency Group, and
which in itself seems weird. Doesn't it?
Well, no, I'm oversimplifying this. No, right. I'm way oversimplifying it. And
for me and the people at home. Thank you for that.
It's not a direct loan. There's a promissory note involved, and it's kind of standard operating procedure to a degree, and the interest that was paid to these to the Gemini customers, along with many other customers, came from sort of an arbitrage opportunity that existed behind the scenes at some of Barry's subsidiaries, seemingly all above board until the dynamic changed.
So you've compared this to what happened back in 2009. In what respect is it similar?
So one of Digital Currency Group subsidiaries, Genesis, not Gemini, I always get those confused. Genesis was basically lending billions of dollars, and by at least one measure, $100 billion over the course of a single year to a bunch of other companies that were all playing this arbitrage game. There's if you bought if you borrowed money from Genesis and then use that money to buy Bitcoin securities from Grayscale, another Barry Silbert company, you could that money would be locked up for 6 months. I'm sorry, those securities would be locked up for 6 months, and because they were trading at a discount, when they matured and you sold them, you could pocket upwards of 20%. If you gave,
assuming the trajectory continued, right?
Yeah, and you could give 6% of that to your customers, and that's exactly what a lot of these companies were doing, and you could keep the rest. It was a nice way for everybody to make money. But there's some debate about what the initial trigger was. There was a trigger, roughly February of this year. I'm sorry, roughly February of 2022. It's now 2023. That sort of started to change that equation. But because there's a 6-month lockup period, there was
So when things start
people
to turn,
they couldn't do anything.
right? Them's the breaks, no?
Yeah, and the
So Silbert's in the right here, or is it hard? You don't want to be the arbiter of.
I think no. I'm not going to say anyone is right or wrong, but I will say that a lot of people were expecting things to continue that were obviously going to change, and without a doubt, more conservative business practices would have minimized harm.